Oh, Anthony. He's a big boy. He knows what he said. What'd you say?
All right. Hello, hello. This is Listen to Tony with me, Antoni Lenski. Today's guest is Kacper Zambrzycki. We're in Poland. Dzień dobry. But we're going to do this in English for a global audience. In this series, I explore the stories of smart creatives who are about to embark on their entrepreneurial journey. And so I took your description from LinkedIn to kind of have a little biopsy of like who you are for our audience. So you say entrepreneur inside. So you tried 2 times with your own venture before you were 23. After those failures, so you called me also your biggest learnings. You worked as a VC investor, and then 3 years later, you decided to switch to the other side and get back to building. So after a seed investment in AhoyConnect, we're going to talk about that too. You joined the company as employee number 5 in their first non-engineering hire. And now you're out again, trying to build something, I presume, or start something new or join another team. But before getting to that, all this kind of, I hope we're going to touch upon all of these points. Where were you born?
Where?
Yeah.
I was born in Olsztyn, which is like between Warsaw and Gdańsk, like 2 hours drive to Gdańsk, 2.5 hours drive to Warsaw. So just in between. It's kind of on a straight line, but it still is kind of like counted as Eastern Poland. So on the cheaper side of things, but absolutely lovely city, especially during the summer. Tons of lakes, tons of forests. I really enjoy going there when the days are getting longer, when the weather is better. It's just like such a good place to relax and unwind after living in Warsaw, which is certainly more fast paced. I'm actually going there tomorrow, so I'm very happy to, I think it's the first time this year, so yeah.
Nice. How did you end up in Warsaw from Olsztyn?
Yeah, I went to Koźmiński, which is a university here in Warsaw, so that was the first time I moved outside of Olsztyn, which is for my university days.
Did you consider going abroad for your university studies, or you wanted to be in Warsaw and just kind of went for that?
Not initially, not for the bachelor. I was thinking about going abroad for the masters. I didn't go. I regret it now. So I regret both of the things I regret from my university days. Or first of all, I'm not going to any Erasmus trip. Second one is not going to
Erasmus is an exchange.
Yes,
just for those who don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, which are my 2 regrets from the.
Maybe it was just like super fun here, and you didn't want to / have to go, right? Like, how was it studying in Warsaw? How is the Polish university system and the whole just like, I guess, curriculum? Did you feel like, or now do you feel like you missed out on something that your peers on the, I guess, international scene had, or just your friends who went to study somewhere abroad got?
Yeah. Especially in the recent years, so after my graduation, I realized how much value is in your network. Your network shouldn't be condensed only in one city. So from that end, I regret maybe not studying abroad, especially in a city that I might consider moving on to later on, since I already have like foot in the door, probably knew some places, know some people. So on that end, probably a little bit. But still studying in Warsaw, again, if I would be living in Warsaw, if I was born in Warsaw and then I would stay for my university days in Warsaw, maybe that wouldn't be so much of a change.
Yeah.
But still, moving from Olsztyn to Warsaw, that was nice, already a nice like up level, let's call it, on that front. So I've met a ton of interesting people here. I believe my network, but not only professional network, my friends, my closest people are in Warsaw. So I'm still happy about that. I purposefully didn't go to any master degree here because that would be too much, like 3 years, because I only went to bachelor studies. So 3 years, I believe, were enough for me to.
Do people point that out to you that you only have your bachelor's? Because I think it's pretty popular in Poland to kind of stack the degrees, and I have a bachelor's and a master's and a PhD. And when is it a thing? Is it a bad thing, or like do people notice it when you tell them that, like, or do you look at your resume that you haven't gone to do your master's?
I haven't noticed it. But at the same time, as you pointed out in the intro, after my graduation, I've tried with some businesses on my own, which gave me a little bit of an experience. So after I failed those businesses, I started looking for a job, and I already had something to show.
Yeah.
So this first step, like I think people often struggle with the first step between the university and finding the first job, right? There's those memes where like children are walking around the factory in like those yellow vests. Just probably some, I don't know whether you've seen that. Probably maybe we can show this meme later on in the video. They are just taking some trip around the factory as like, after hours event for small children to see how maybe some heavy machinery works or whatever. But the tagline was, when the employer requires you to have 10 years of experience just after you graduate or something like that. So I think for people it's difficult. Sometimes for people it might be difficult to make that first step. Where for me that was a step of my own. So to answer your question, no, it wasn't an issue for me not to go to any masters from the professional side of things.
But also from like a personal side, because again, like it's interesting for me because I never studied here, and I hear a lot of people just shitting on the Polish educational system, higher education, more specifically. Were you like fed up, or did you feel like, okay, I don't want to be like, this is not adding much value to me, and that's why I want to build my own thing or join a company? Yeah,
I think there wouldn't be that much incremental value after my bachelor. So on masters, basically, I think bachelor is good enough in that sense that you have this entrance into adult life. So you meet some people, you see how things work. You are kind of again probably most likely in a new city. So it's like, again, the step in between your high school and professional life. But what I'm trying to say, I didn't decide to go to any master's degree, especially in Poland, because it's 2 years. So 5 years, I think it's definitely too much. Again, especially if you want to do like finance and accounting, let's say, as I did, I think that this additional 2 years,
why finance and accounting,
isn't just worth it. I don't know, like back in the time, like the truth is,
was your parents saying like you should become an accountant? That's something that people will always need.
Not really. I don't really recall what did they say precisely. I think they were pretty open to what I want to do. Back then, I think I was interested in stock exchange, things like that. I was thinking, I'm gonna be trading and earning money on the stock exchange, not knowing like it's not so easy. First of all, second of all, you need to have a certain base amount to start with. Like you can't really make a living investing on a stock exchange before you actually make some money. Having said that, I think I still was tempted by
just the intellectual rigor, like, finance and accounting, a lot of math, less, I guess, wishy-washy than economics. I mean, I studied economics, and it's just like, it does have this like really like the soft side and the social science part, whereas I think finance and accounting does offer you a bit more, just like in terms of logical, analytical thinking. And like looking later at your career, like what you did at VC and then ending up in ops, probably that was useful. What were the two businesses that you had?
Yeah, I will get back to this in a second. I think just to maybe comment on, because you've asked about the Polish education system, and I don't know how it looks like on all of the markets, and certainly there are markets where it's much more thought out, and markets where it doesn't work even as good as in Poland. I think the tough part here is, again, as you've asked, why finance and accounting? That's a question I believe many high school graduates are asking themselves, and there should be some. And by no means I'm saying I know how to solve this, but I'm just thinking out loud. There should be some guidance, some way for young people to better understand what they might be interested in the future, right? Because the decision was like, what could I have known when I was like
Sounds fancy.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
19
get into
years
that.
old. Like
Yeah.
I didn't know what that is precisely. Like, sure, finance
There's no
accounting.
like high school counselor, someone who like an advisor for your what you gonna do in your future. Like no one kind of held your hand. There's no, there's usually this. It's like I mean, stereotypical, but like there's like an older, like middle-aged lady or guy sitting in like the smallest room at the end
Yeah.
of the corridor in the school, and like they have this like advisor, and you go to them, and they give you some weird tests, and they tell you you would fit into this like profession.
Yeah, I think there might have been a thing like that. I don't recall it very well. I think I might have had one meeting, but what I'm trying to say, it might be a solution to have like someone very thoughtful about it. And look, there's so many things you can do that this one person, I don't believe one person would be capable of directing everyone. Perhaps you would need to have someone for science studies, someone for finance and accounting, economics, management studies, someone for whatever.
But it wasn't also that drastic. Like you went to finance and accounting, and then 60 months in, you're like, oh shit, like I should have done medicine. Like you kind of
No.
you kind of knew like what you're getting into, right?
True.
So
on that end, yeah. But which is also funny. Like, especially in my high school, I felt very. I had a very low confidence. I didn't have a good grades. I wasn't doing so well. So I thought I'm just like average, mediocre. So, which is maybe part of this like fault of the system, partially maybe of myself, because today I still don't think like I'm the most confident person and whatnot.
look at you, your hair and everything.
Yeah, it's a relatively new thing as well. So that's something that's a big thing for me. Like I'm happy with the place I am today and with the things that I've done and with what's ahead of me. Yet during my high school and like first 2 years, let's say, of my university, I thought I'm like very miserable and I'm gonna adapt with just like some average job, not doing anything intellectually challenging, something very repetitive and so on.
So that was the drive. Like I don't want to be average, because you felt like you were falling into that trap. So then you said, I'm gonna kind of build some grit and get into finance and accounting and become the Wolf of Wall Street or some other way, just make the big bucks.
Still, that wasn't the motivation. Like I just chosen it based on some personal interests and things around that, but it wasn't like very well thought out decision. Okay, now I will show you. I'm gonna be this, Wolf of Wall Street, as you said. I was very fortunate during my university days to meet some very ambitious, very self-aware, and very driven people who showed me like, hey, you're as good as we are. It wasn't like you're worse, you're not gonna make it. I had some pretty good. I met some pretty good friends of mine today that were, hey, like you can do this, you can make it. So people, still wasn't me. It was like people were pushing me, showing me like it can be done. You can achieve this and that.
Like
so.
your environment is so key to who you become and like how you feel about yourself, how you think. Because that's why it's. I mean, you know this, right? Like that's why I'm curious. And this probably later on in the conversation, but venture capital is probably great for that, right? Because you're surrounded by all these really driven, smart, ambitious, and ballsy people, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah,
this is it makes you want to wake up and kind of do more because you see a lot of people doing more.
Absolutely, yeah.
Did you meet someone who was, I don't know, like a quote unquote like an entrepreneur during your university or like your bachelor's that made you want to build your own thing, or what was the impetus?
I think inside myself, I had this notion that I'm gonna be, which sounds a little bit silly, and it is, that I'm gonna be my own boss, right? That's what I wanted. It wasn't that I really wanted to change the world or build this or that business. It was more about I'm gonna do this on my own terms. So that was the initial motivation. Plus passion in certain things and maybe some initial idea of what I want to do, but this was my drive. I don't want to work for someone, which was a little bit foolish. Like then I worked at the VC fund. It was amazing. Like so, my initial idea about this was wrong. I thought it's just bad, and it was great.
So what did you build?
So as some of the people might know, also based on this podcast, you mostly talk with technological, like people from the technological environment. But my first business was non-tech at all. It was like very offline business. It was actually a CrossFit gym in my hometown, Olsztyn, that we've talked about briefly. So this was a very interesting part of my life, because I've been living in Warsaw for those 3 to 4 years, and I got a call from my dad, who knew that first of all, I want to build something on my own. Second of all, I'm passionate into CrossFit, and funnily enough, I actually forgot, but right next door, like 5 meters from here, is CrossFit Mokotów, which is the first gym, which was the first gym in Poland. And I received my CrossFit level 1 instructor degree from very...
You're an instructor in CrossFit?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was actually here. Like I was 18, so I wasn't living in Warsaw yet. So today I wasn't even sure where is it, right? Because that's like 10, 11 years ago. I kind of forgot where that specific gym is located. So it was funny to see it's just behind the window. So I got this certification, and even before my studies, I was still passionate about it. I was training definitely more than now. So I got a call from my dad, was still living in Olsztyn. He said, like, look, there's this great warehouse that we could rent for like very, very low amount of cash. Because it's outside of the city. That's one thing. And second thing is it's on the first floor. So not many like heavy businesses, like, I don't know, any construction or any manufacturing businesses want to be on the first floor, because then all the items you produce or items you ship, you need to go with them via an elevator. So it's like just not convenient.
You're saying first or fifth?
What's that?
First floor or fifth floor?
First. Yeah. But still,
you have to take the stairs. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So still, it's very suboptimal for the majority of the businesses to be in such a big warehouse, again on the first floor, which made what I'm trying to say, it made the price even cheaper, right? Because like nobody wanted to rent that. So he called me, like, there's this warehouse, we could rent it very cheaply. I know you've mentioned that building a CrossFit gym is like relatively inexpensive endeavor, because for the start you need
like a bunch of pull-up bars and
yeah, exactly. Like if you want to build like a modern traditional gym, you need to have all of those machines and treadmills and whatnot. Like each treadmill is probably like 5K. Commercial grade treadmill is like 5K euros. So couple of treadmills and your budget is gone. But here the idea was a few kettlebells, a few dumbbells, barbells, pull-up bars, and we were good to go. Maybe some medicine balls, rope to climb. We bought this gigantic what's the word? Kind of like this wheel? No, not wheel. What's the word? I forgot about.
What's the thing? What does it do? Like,
it's basically opona in Polish.
Oh,
tire.
Yeah.
So we bought this gigantic tire that you can pound with like a hammer or throw it all over. It's like very cool functional fitness stuff. So basically he said, look, do the budget, how much it will cost on the equipment side, and I will try to estimate how much it will cost to renovate that place and maybe meet some requirements from...
Is your dad in construction?
He's in real estate.
Okay, cool.
He's in real estate, very like basic real estate. So he didn't know that much about it, but as he initially thought, he knew enough to renovate like a relatively small warehouse, one floor warehouse, but still large enough to open such a gym. So I applied also for a kind of like grant from local unemployment office. So I registered myself as an unemployed person. I got this like 20K zloty, which is $5K, let's say. And I moved back to Olsztyn. I said, okay, let's do this. So head on, just started building that. I trusted him to properly estimate the costs of the renovation and all sorts of things on that end, which maybe this finance and accounting studies made me um, a good Excel user, and my calculation was very detailed and very accurate.
Yeah.
His wasn't. So long story short, we bought all of that equipment, everything on the legal side, everything on the branding side.
What was it called? What was the brand?
How was it called? It was called CrossFit Sokola because it was on Sokola Street. Sokol is like eagle, I think, right?
No, I think so. It's the bird. It's similar to eagle. I don't know. I'm not good with
It's
birds,
probably not
but,
eagle. But this it had quite a cool logo with this bird in between in the middle. Yeah, like really lots of stuff we got done. I think it was like 6-7 months of preparation to launch that. And again, on the let's say commercial side of things, everything was going well. On the renovation side of things, not so much, because this warehouse was like 6 years old, and when we were renovating the bathrooms, let's say, and we needed to move, so it's also funny how difficult it is sometimes to open up a business, because you need to meet certain requirements from like firefighters, so the ventilation is proper, and
get all the permits.
Yeah. And the other one is like BHP, which is safety, workplace safety kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So they visited this place, and the bathrooms and the locker rooms were already there, so we didn't touch them much, maybe a little bit. And they went into the bathroom and they said, okay, this is 10 centimeters too narrow. You need to
tear down the walls.
Exactly.
That's
and when we did that's what I mentioned. It's important. It was important that it was like 6 years old building, because everything started to kind of like collapse. Maybe not fully, but trashing one wall led to some other
issues.
Exactly.
So that didn't work out.
Yeah, there was a lot of unexpected costs, and the final one was we realized that this firefighting ventilation stuff is like 20,000 euros or like $20,000 to get done properly, even though it was a very large volume-wise. It was a big place, because very high, a lot of hard to breathe. Like certainly not an issue.
Were you like pissed at your dad? Did you blame him for the failure of this business?
Not really. Like I knew he was trying hard to make this happen. It's not that he was helping me out a lot, and then like the nail into the coffin was when he actually got sick and he couldn't work anymore for a certain period of time, for a few months. So he wasn't generating any income. So that, together with the costs that were piling up, led us to let's close it. And so we didn't even launch. We had everything almost ready. We didn't launch, which was...
You had all the equipment and shit?
Everything.
But you managed to sell it back? Or like...
Yeah, and it wasn't easy, like, because, people are looking for certain sets of equipment. So perhaps someone wanted, like, let's say the kettlebells between 4 and 20 kilos, and I had between 4 and 32, and you want to sell them all together, because then you're selling just piece by piece. It's nightmare.
Yeah.
And then this rig or rack, some people call it, this like very long interconnected pull-up bar, like a set of pull-up bars, is 13 meters long and like 6 meters high. So imagine how hard is it to sell, because somebody would need to have
probably some other gym, right? Like there weren't other people like that you could find. Like there's probably some Facebook group, like people who run gyms or something like that, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that was the main like distribution channel for me, but it wasn't easy. Like, look, it's 13 meters long. Of course, you can kind of...
It's not going to fit in every room.
Divide it, but yeah, exactly. You need to have like a certain similarity between those rooms, between those areas. So I shipped that to Sweden, I think, because in Poland I couldn't find anyone. Yeah.
What was the second business?
It was just after this failure. Like back then I thought that's the biggest failure ever. Like, we didn't launch. I, again, quote unquote, wasted a couple of months. I moved back to Olsztyn, where my colleagues from the university or just
getting some like nice cushy corporate jobs, and they're like looking down on you. What the fuck are you doing? Going to some small town in Poland. Yeah.
I was looking at their LinkedIn, and they were like associate here and there, and I was like, damn.
Yeah.
And I'm unemployed. And today it's funny, and I think it was a great experience. But back then it was really like I felt that I failed, and yeah. So but still I had this mindset. Okay, I cannot. I don't want to work for anyone else.
I want to be an associate. I want to be a CEO.
Yeah, that was still the mindset. And funnily enough, and I actually started sending out some CVs because I didn't have any particular idea or direction I want to follow. So I started sending out some CVs, and the guy reached out that I met in London. He's a Polish dude, and we met on some like college trip. He was one of the mentors for like a group of students visiting London. And I asked him like, hey, do you know this business called Purple Bricks in the UK? I think it's like one of the biggest ones on this market. Is basically like a hybrid real estate agency, which is a fancy word for a real estate agency that puts a lot of obsolete processes into the online world. And with that, they are able to be much more efficient and much more cost effective.
Like Open Door?
Similar, but Open Door buys the property.
Yeah,
Here
okay.
it's only an intermediary. So let's say you get everything that can be pushed to the online world, like scheduling. Today it's obvious, but it was like 6-7 years ago or something like that. It wasn't so obvious. So you get everything from scheduling, this 3D walk, 3D.
Got it.
Everything you get just going to Purple Bricks, one payment, and everything is handled, right? So as much operational efficiency as possible that allows to compete pricing wise, because this pricing is still illogical to me. Because let's
be transparent, right? Like how do they even price this stuff?
Yeah, it's usually like, let's assume on average 3% of the selling price, and let's say you have a 50 square meter flat in the city, in the center of Warsaw, and then you have a similar flat in I don't know, Piaseczno, which is
suburbs.
Yeah, 20 kilometers from Warsaw, even less. So the real estate agent has to do the same amount of work to sell this in the city center, or even less because it's a hotter market, but it's priced, it's 2 times more expensive. So he gets 2x on his earnings, but he didn't do more work. You see what I mean? The fact that it's percentage based isn't always fair. It's not correlated to the amount of work he's contributing. So I talked about this Purple Bricks with this guy. He didn't do much about it back then. A year passed, and he messaged me, "Hey, I'm moving back to Poland. I met a girl. I've seen this Purple Bricks business. Let's do this in Poland. Let's like copy the market," because there were a few similarities between the markets, and Polish real estate market is probably, I wasn't.
It's big enough that could make sense for you guys to make money on that. And
for sure, I'm not trying to say that back then I was calculating time and like thinking whether it's big enough or not. I was like, okay, it's probably big enough. So I'm not gonna lie about it. It was essentially a copycat of that business. So
what was it called?
iLocum, or iLocum, if you will.
Yeah.
So
you guys launched it.
We launched it barely. Like he brought another guy who was a CTO. We applied to Reactor X, which is an accelerator program run by Smog VC, one of the VC funds in Poland. Non-existent back then. Reactor X was their main business at the time. So we went through this acceleration.
So Smog didn't exist before that, you're saying?
Yes.
And then they transitioned from that to building Smog Ventures, which is a VC in
exactly.
Poland. Okay,
exactly. Cool. And now they are less involved in Reactor and more involved in Smog. So we went through that acceleration. In the meantime, we were testing some hypotheses. It's funny that I felt like I knew a lot back then, but looking back, I see like how many mistakes I made and how much I didn't know.
Were you like the ops guy in that triangle, or like you had the CTO, then you had this mentor guy who I presume was the CEO?
Yeah,
I mean, titles don't really matter at that stage, of
exactly.
course, but
like so early that me and this guy I met in London, we were like both co-founders. I think at that time I was the CEO and he was like chief sales officer, which means nothing, right?
Yeah, okay,
at this stage. So we've built a platform. We had like a small, I wouldn't even call it a launch. We had maybe one or two test sales, like, you know, to see how it looks like.
So you just basically got some company to do a virtual walk of an apartment, and then you put it on your platform and wanted to see.
Yeah, there's a lot of other platforms you could integrate with and make it seem like it's all your offering. So our friend had this virtual walk company. The other company was doing kind of like an API. You provide the photos and the description once, and it gets pushed to like 50 portals, 50 different real estate websites where you can buy or sell properties. So we combined a bunch of tools, a bunch of softwares like that into one platform, trying to make like a single offering with a flat fee, not the commission based. We had like one or two like test processes, not really even monetizing that. We couldn't raise any money. I was really short in cash already after those two businesses, and the chemistry just wasn't there with the guys. Like they're still like we keep in touch, but on the business front, we didn't know each other before starting that, which is a big lesson for me, to only engage into new ventures with people I trust and people I have some professional relationship before. Yeah. So we wrapped this up, and finally I got a job for someone else, right? Which was at Innovo, the VC fund.
How did you end up working in VC? Because right now, or I don't know if it still is the case, but I mean, probably is. Like, it's seen as like a very, I say lucrative, but something that's like, whoa, like you're in VC. Like people, you know, when people like on LinkedIn put like, I'm a VC, and it doesn't matter like what brand. There's so many VCs out there. You could be working at a shitty one, no one even knows, but you put VC and immediately, like in your brain, you connect the dots. Well, this person has like this. They're amazing, right? They know a lot of people, and they have a fuckload of money just to spend and like back founders. So I should better become friends with them. That kind of vibe. How did you land the gig after, you know, trying to build a gym and you get copycat?
The story wasn't like very cohesive, but still, I think it made me stand out in the interview, in the application process. It's a good story, I think, with me ending up at Innovo, because they were just launching the second fund.
Just out of context, Innovo is like one of the biggest VC funds in Poland / Central Eastern Europe.
Exactly. Yeah. And they were launching their second fund, looking for associates or maybe managers. And I was looking for like an internship, right? So not really the same level of experience. But still, I applied. I had nothing to lose. They invited me to an interview. It didn't go so well. It was like basically my first job interview ever. So I didn't know what to expect. And after that, Tomek said, like,
Tomek is one of the GPs,
partners,
right?
Yes. Yeah. And he said, look, it was like nice talking with you, good process, but we're looking for someone more experienced, right? So I told him, okay, then the next step was homework, like to do some tasks at home, send it to them so they can evaluate. So I told him, can you send me the homework? Maybe I can do that and we can see.
Like a case study or something.
Yeah. I said, fine, like I have nothing to lose. It's just like forwarding one email, right? So I did that. So he did that. I did this homework, sent it to them. He replied via an email and he said, nice job. We were impressed with how you've done it.
What was it?
I don't recall it that well. I think it was like an analysis of one of the businesses they were looking at without any names and confidential data. So just some materials like cohorts, like basically some Excels to go through, then some case study, like a brief of a company, and you needed to research the market and prepare like the market summary, TAM.
Got it. Yeah.
So it's a typical stuff a VC would later on do. So I did that, and he said, yeah, we are impressed, but still we're looking for someone more senior, right? And I almost gave up back then. I don't know what pushed me. Perhaps the fact that I didn't have much to lose. I emailed him back after 2 days of thinking. I said, I can come work for you for free for like 1 or 2 months, and you will see whether it's a fit or not. Like completely, like, nothing to lose on their end.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah. And he called me and he said, okay, sure, that makes sense. But let's make it, you will come for 3 months and you will have like very small, kind of almost like minimum salary for that. I said, fine, sure, let's do it. And I know I'm repeating myself, but he really said, but look, I want to set the expectations right. After those 3 months, you probably won't stay, right? We're looking for more senior people.
Yeah.
And like almost 3 years later, I was still there. So
nice.
It shows that, as your motto, as you just said, like whatever it takes, it's just worth trying and worth pushing. So yeah, that's
what happened after the 3 months? Did he even mention it? Was he like, okay, you're staying, or it was just like you guys didn't even notice that 3 months have passed and it was like a natural progression where you're just part of the team? Or was it like 3 months and then you're negotiating, I want to, the salary and
no, it
give me a fucking car.
No, it was quite natural. I think I was giving my best, but I think like it's something I do every time. It wasn't that I was like feeling the pressure. 3 months I need to really deliver, and then I'm gonna relax and just slack around. I was doing my best. It was just my nature. Like nobody told me to do it this way, but I was very, very proactive. So even though I was an intern, I wasn't afraid of reaching out to companies, chasing them, scheduling meetings, like something an intern doesn't necessarily do, right? Like I didn't know it's, like you should talk with associates, principals, or partners. Like it's nice that some people even wanted to meet up with me, right? Because these days, many people say like, I'm not gonna talk with an intern, right? Book me a meeting with a partner. So I was doing a lot of those proactive things, hustling my way through in a hopefully positive way.
What does it mean to work at a VC as an analyst or even an intern? Like, what are the 3 years comprised of? And I guess at some point it became more systematic, or you kind of knew the ropes, and it was just like, okay, I need to source this deal and look through X amount of decks per day, but how does it work?
So from one end, as you've said, it's like, in my opinion, one of the most interesting jobs you can have, because you meet a lot of like great people, super ambitious, very smart, building cool stuff you didn't even know is possible to build, right? So it's very inspiring and very refreshing, because you meet a lot of smart, driven people. But at the same time, or on the other hand, it's still a little bit repetitive, right? Because the process is look for a good company, talk with them, convince them, build a relationship, like offer them a term sheet, invest, support, and the next one, and the next one.
Okay, let's break it down. So like you say you have like a company that you get the pitch deck, they send it to you, a cold email. They're saying like, hey, we're building this amazing thing that's going to revolutionize healthcare or X industry. And you're like, okay, cool, I'm going to jump on a call with them.
Yep.
And you have that call. What are the questions you ask? Was it like a script that you can go through every time you jump on a call with a founder? And then if you have chemistry plus they tick some of the boxes that you kind of wanted them to check, you have another meeting, like what's the process?
Yeah. I'm happy to tell you how it looked like on my end, and perhaps how it was, or maybe still is, run by Innovo, right? Different funds will have different processes, different approach to things.
Totally, yeah.
So initially, as you've mentioned, like I followed some script, maybe not very closely, but at the beginning, like, I wasn't so knowledgeable and so aware to every time ask the right questions and really drill down into the stuff that's really, crucial and essential. So I was following some script. ticking some boxes, almost like, you know.
What was the question? The Kacper curveball.
That's a good one. So I was.
What's your relationship with your mother?
No, there's like always. I think there are two schools. Like the founder is more important, or the market is more important. I think Sequoia, based on what I know, I believe they are market driven, and perhaps to use those big guys, I think A16Z might be more into founders, and I personally was much more into founders. By the way, like you can make a case for both, right?
Totally. Yeah.
You can make a case for a founder will always utilize and make the most of even a small market. Maybe you know, like think about Uber or Airbnb. Like Uber, especially, like the market for private ride hailing is not big, but they essentially build their own market. So, so that was an initially small market with a great. I think that was one of the best founder market fits. Like, of course, I don't know Travis, but people say, and based on the interviews, he seems like a very straightforward, very hustly. Is that a word?
Yeah, he's us there. So I get it. And then there's the market fit. Like there is just like, okay.
They need to be very pushy. There's no regulations. So he was fighting against regulations. He was fighting against taxi business. Like someone who's
unions,
not, someone who's not like that driven, that straightforward. Maybe someone who's more cautious, more analytical, more operational. Probably wouldn't do it. Wouldn't make it. That is just like a digression. So I believe founders. So you can make a case for both. The other one would be even an average founder will do well on a market that is either very big already or is growing rapidly.
AI.
Yeah. Probably not the greatest example because an average founder won't be knowledgeable
fair,
enough,
but
right?
like
I would say, let's say real estate, something I was in, right? It's such a big market that you can, if you're at least somewhat like smart, you will connect the dots eventually. You will find a niche and you will find
crypto. I mean, a lot of average people made a fuckload of money.
Oh, that's true. On that and true, but they made the money trading, not really building sustainable businesses, right?
Or Ponzi schemes. But I'm kind of tongue-in-cheek on this one. But I get it. So real estate, it's a huge market. Like a bunch of businesses have proven that you can succeed in it, and you can still chip away your share of it being a person who just, has like average wits.
Exactly.
And
you will grow on that market. You will learn some stuff. It might be fine, right?
But if you're looking out for like $100 or $1 billion outcomes, if you see, you're saying that you probably want to go for the person that's like this incredible, almost godlike personality, because no matter like if their market doesn't really work out, you'll throw them another bone and like they'll go and get it. Yeah. Essentially,
they will create their own market. They will pivot. They will do whatever it takes to make it work. So that being said, I think I still am on the founder front. So I was looking into founders, what drives them, what's their ambition, what do they want to build. Like it's nothing, it's no rocket science. It's nothing very unique. It's not that I invented those questions, but I think these are good questions to assess what drives this person, and when shit hits the fan, what motivates them to get out of bed and get shit done.
Were you exposed mainly, or did you talk mainly to founders in Poland or globally, and how would you compare them? So
initially, like Innova is still focused, probably my best guess 60-70% on Poland, 30-40% on the CE region, so Central and Eastern Europe. Back then, because right now they are operating their third fund. Back then it was the second fund, and I think the strategy was even more focused on Poland. That being said, there were some companies in the region we looked at, but only in the region. Like the idea was, if a UK company or if a German company talks to you, they are probably not doing so well. Like, why would they
raise from a Polish VC?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
If they cannot raise from German VCs or UK VCs or any other Western VCs, because this is like a separate ecosystem,
And money's green.
Yeah. So there's some, and obviously it's kind of simplified thinking. It may have been that with that attitude we definitely missed on a great that's an amazing example. Like I talked with a company called Go Student.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. It was like 2019, and this is from Austria, so not the CE region.
Yeah.
So it raises the question, okay, why this guy is even interested in talking to us? Like, okay, we had at least part of the team had a good background and good expertise in marketplaces, and it's a marketplace, so there could be a case for why is he talking with us. But still, we looked at it. Why isn't he raising from any German, Swiss, or Austrian VCs or any Western one, right? It definitely wasn't the main driver of our decision. Like, it's not that, okay, he's not talking with those funds, we're gonna say no because it's shady. It wasn't like that. It was a small yellow flag. The valuation was $10 million back then. 2 years later, driven by COVID, but not only. Like, certainly you cannot build the business just on COVID and the market growth. I am not sure, was it like 3.5 billion or 4.5 billion? So from 10 million to $4 billion-ish in 2 years. So
yeah, that's
probably the biggest miss we had at Denovo.
But did you confront them about, like, why would they talk to you, or
Not really. I think it was in between the rounds. It was more of a breed round. So they've raised with, I think, Speed Invest before, which is a very solid Austrian VC, I believe Austrian. And, VCs are not so bullish on those breed rounds. It's usually you don't have enough to raise Series A while you are past seed, right? So we're kind of in this in between.
When you're saying you don't have enough to show for to raise a big Series A, that's why you raise a bridge is something that you get some additional money. What's the difference actually?
To validate more things, maybe because they've been growing fast. So growth is probably the first thing VCs looked at. If you're growing fast, it means it's not always the case, but there should be some value. If you provide some value, grow fast, the idea is it will continue like so. They've been growing fast, but I think retention was an issue back then. Like, people weren't, because by the way, Go Student is a marketplace connecting tutors with, I think, teenagers mostly. So just like high schoolers and below, not university students. So just tutoring the math and things like that. So they've been growing very well. I think retention wasn't exceptional. It was good because the payer is the parent who's who wants the best for their children. So he or she, like the parent, pushes the child to have those lessons, but still the retention, the churn rate was a little bit too high. So there's been some things that they needed to validate. I don't recall exactly what they were. Like, certainly retention was one of them. Perhaps maybe scaling outside of Austria, because we always usually want to see you succeed on the market that's not your domestic market. Because let's say I want to launch a business today. We talked about healthcare. Let's say I'm interested in fitness and wellness. So I can imagine I would launch a consumer fitness product today. And it would be easier for me in Poland because, like, VC access to money is one thing. Locally, it's easier for me probably to raise. But the other thing would be, I don't know, I might know some influencers, or I might know a guy that actually runs a social media agency with influencers, which is like probably the best channels, at least to begin with, a fitness and wellness company. I would have most probably easier and better access to press to cover my business, and so on and so on. So also the local language, like Polish is my native language, so it would be probably a little bit easier for me than to launch on the German market because I didn't know German. So VCs usually want you to prove one additional market.
In Europe. If like you're US based, it doesn't really matter because the market is big enough. But
then you don't need to. And it's always a case by case thing because let's go back to Go Student. I think they were like Austria plus Germany plus Switzerland, so that kind of free market, but still the same environment, the same region. What I'm trying to say, if they were on UK or US market, then probably we wouldn't be able to invest because like
they would have access to the bigger
like everybody
players.
Everybody wants to see growth, traction, market, and everything. But when it's all in place, probably Sequoia invests, simplifying that, but probably you're not relevant anymore.
So much psychology in this.
So you need to take some bets. There's a lot of unknown. You need to take some bets before everyone else.
Did you take any big bet? Like, who did you invest in?
So
non-obvious, I guess.
Non-obvious companies I've invested in. So I haven't invested as a partner, lead partner on the deal because we were working like in pairs. I was working with Michał Rokosz. So even if I found a company, I've run the initial calls, analysis, IC and whatnot. Michał was supporting me in that. And he would be the one then kind of the lead partner on that deal, right? So with that being said, I've worked on a couple of transactions. I think 4 or 5. It was TDO, PackHelp, Preply, AhoyConnect, which I later joined. I'm thinking there's one more. There might be one more. I'm forgetting right now. So we are this small team focusing on B2C, B2B, SMB, like this, and marketplaces, which kind of B2C.
Yeah. How do you compare? Because you mentioned there is psychology, and you obviously look at the founder and their mentality, and you had some level of comparison between your I don't know, Austrian or German or British, even US founders versus Polish founders. How would you describe the market here in terms of talent and the level of not only ambition, like aggressiveness and
It's a very good question. We could talk about it for like 2 hours, I believe, because there's so many aspects to that, right? And one of the cool things about me joining in end of 2018 was I was able to see probably one of the biggest growth periods for Polish VC. Like we've prepared those reports with PFR, like a Polish fund of funds slash institutional investor. Back at the time when I was at Innova, I was doing it with them. Now somebody else is running that, like quarterly summary of transactions that happened in Poland and the region. So we clearly saw a very rapid growth quarter to quarter. Maybe not so much quarter to quarter, but year by year we've seen like how Polish market is growing, and even now, or especially now, is growing probably even faster. Maybe it's a slowdown on the VC market in general, but other than that, there's a lot of foreign VCs investing in Poland. There's a lot of just great teams building stuff outside from Poland and selling globally. So first of all, it's a big change already. It's great to see that, but still, I think so. The easiest comparison is certainly to the US founders, and on average, right? There's gonna be exceptions here and there, but on average, you would think of a US founder as just more confident, more maybe not even more driven, maybe perhaps more ambitious, because if you grow up in the US and follow the ecosystem, you see so many of those big businesses. You see so much stuff being
built. Again, what you mentioned of like university, like who you're surrounded by, like your environment, right? Like you see so much excellence and like people just really doing like the impossible. I think it pushes you and
at the same time they are very open, and it's the case in Europe as well. But I think they are even more open. So it's very easy for you as a founder in the US to talk with some, Series C, D, E, whatever, like very mature and very accomplished founders. So you have access to capital, you have access to talent, you have access to mentorship. It's just like all sort of those small pieces added up together. It just makes you more aware and more confident.
Having the infrastructure also, I guess.
Yeah.
I also was curious about the number of exits, right? Because I mean, there are a bunch of Polish startups that are doing well.
Yeah.
But you don't hear about them being, valued at billions and staying private. Is it the case that there are a lot of successful companies in Poland?
Yeah.
They just kind of go public very early, and that's why venture's not that developed, because it's easier, or I don't know, it's for whatever reason, maybe the reason why founders would decide just to raise on public markets versus on private.
Yeah. That's certainly the case. It's getting better, if we may call it better. Like everybody can do whatever they want with their company, right? So it's not me who's gonna judge is it better or worse. But with a VC and ecosystem growth perspective in mind, it's getting better because, and there's certainly many reasons that add up, making it such. But as you've said, seeing successful companies, seeing those exits, seeing those IPOs, in the US, let's stick to the US, you see that it's possible to build 1, 2, 3, 10, $20 billion company, right? In Poland, let's say building a business in 2018, 2019, how many technological companies you've been able to follow and observe their exits, like substantial exits, right? There's been, I don't know, Allegro, probably a few others, but I would say 5 to 10 companies like that. And in the US, you would have 50 or 100 per year. So that is partially the case. If you were building a business out of Poland, you haven't seen yet. Again, Allegro, a few other companies, you can see that, but it wasn't like a very typical VC way, super fast growth. Even the companies like Dog Planner or Booksy or a few other that are doing very well, they still haven't exited. So you follow their path. You see that it's possible to expand to the US market, to raise from top tier US investors, but everything, maybe not everything, but it comes down to how the overall ecosystem behaves. So this is the same on the investor side.
Totally.
The funds are smaller. It's maybe good enough for some funds and some founders to just have an early exit, which is not bad.
Is there any competition from other outside of international funds coming into Poland, or are there a few key players here that just kind of dominate this market, and they only also invest or primarily invest in Poland, just like you described, 70% in Poland and whatnot, and there are a few others? Or are there funds now coming in and saying okay, we want a piece of this too?
Yeah. So I'm not following the local VC market that closely since I've left Innovo, but from what I've seen, it's certainly getting more and more competitive. And as before, there's probably a few drivers, few reasons. One of them was COVID, which accelerated the globalization of the VC market.
Yeah,
right?
you can just jump on a call and see something cool, and you don't have to fly to Warsaw to meet up with the founder. Just go on Zoom, and
Back then, it was almost like it was insane to me that during COVID we've done some investments, not seeing the team in person. Right? We had 2 or 3 calls, process, IC, and deal done, and no one from the team has seen this or that founder. And that back then it was like, damn. This is a bit crazy, but today it's normal. So COVID accelerated that, but also it made it made Western investors more interested in the region, because they could just have a call and maybe later on fly here and meet the team, but the access, the pool just got bigger. And probably a few other reasons. One of the additional reasons would be some of the top funds are getting better and better and bigger. Their brand grows. So the US market, or maybe let's use UK, which is closer. Let's use UK market. There's more and more funds, and some players are very well established on the VC side. So if you're operating a new fund, launching a new fund, it's difficult for you to build a brand and grow only in the UK market, right? It's very competitive. So what do you do? Perhaps you want to focus on, I don't know, French or German market, or even the whole Europe to be more competitive. You naturally go towards less developed markets because you're coming from a more developed market. You can offer maybe more know-how.
Yeah, people would think you're more sophisticated or something.
So that's another reason why those companies are moving or looking closely at Poland. The other thing would be PFR, which I mentioned, is actually doing a good job partnering with foreign funds. Like even yesterday, I've met with a girl from a fund called Lakestar. It's like probably one of the biggest in Europe. I think their latest fund was $1 billion.
Yeah.
And they took money from PFR, not the whole money, but took some money from PFR.
As an LP. So
as
PFR
an LP,
is an LP.
exactly. Yeah. Funds raised from both institutional investors like PFR, maybe EIF, European Investment Fund, and so on, plus some high net worth individuals. So as they take money from PFR, hopefully it's beneficial for both sides. First of all, you as a fund get money, but you also get like foot in the door in the Polish market because PFR will try to be helpful introducing you to some companies.
The network part, yeah.
And I know part of the agreement is they need to spend certain amount of cash in the Polish market, not the whole cash they take. Let's assume, I don't know the exact numbers, like I'm not sharing any confidential.
Okay, so it's kind of like anchoring, like, yeah, we're going to give you some money.
Yeah.
You guys are the experts, but we also want you to look at our home market and
exactly.
spend it back in the market where the money came from.
Exactly. So that's what I said. It should be beneficial from both sides. So Lakestar is one, Northzone is one, Notion Capital, I believe. So very good. Like I would say on the European market, tier 1 companies took money from PFR. So they are incentivized to invest here, which is another small piece adding up to this argument that more and more Western VCs invest in Poland, which is a good thing.
Cool. Why did you leave, and what did you, because you were for 3 years working as a VC, and we kind of talked a little bit about the process and going from call to call, checking decks. Like you were partnered up with one of the GPs at Innovo, you invested in a bunch of companies, and then you're like, because you invested in Ahoy, and immediately after you invested, you're like, hey, I'm jumping ship and I want to join them because I believe that this is going to be it, or what happened?
Yeah. So there's this company in the Czech Republic called AhoyConnect. Back then it was called Ahoy Team. I met the guys. I met virtually. I met them initially on the call. They were building some other stuff. Not so sexy, smaller market, not doing so well. This was actually my colleague Krzysiek who had this initial call. And then 6 months after he had a call with them. He said, like, Kacper, maybe you want to join. It's more of your thing, right? So maybe less, he was more into, let's say, developer tools, deep tech, like more tech heavy businesses. So perhaps this is something you want to look at. So I joined this call. The founder said, look, we are pivoting outside of this like workplace automation market to the community software market, which is a very fresh niche. And our bet is in 5 years or in X years, in a couple of years, it will be one of the most important growth channels for companies. So every SaaS company will have some sort of a community that will be another piece of their GTM puzzle. And we've seen some early proof points of that. Companies like Figma, Notion, and so on, building their communities. We said, like, dang, it might be that community team will be as natural part of the whole organization as customer success team is today, right? Every SaaS has a customer success team. It wasn't the case 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So our bet was community teams will be a natural part of of tech organizations in the coming years, and they need to have some infrastructure, some tools to effectively do their work. So AhoyConnect is an easiest description that would be like a HubSpot, perhaps HubSpot plus Mixpanel for communities. So some analytics, some part of CRM, better understanding of your entire community, of its growth, and so on.
You join as head of ops, and I'm curious, like, what does that actually mean?
Yeah. This is so to answer your initial question. So we invested, like I pushed this process, and back then initially the team consisted of 4 people. So founder plus CTO plus backend, 2 backend engineers. Funnily enough, the team was Thomas, and Michael. So
Lol.
3 out of 4 were Thomases, I think.
Do you have nicknames for them?
Yes, and later on, like one of the partners who invested from Kaya, the other VC that joined the round, was also Thomas. And soon enough, like I think employee 7, the finance manager, was also Thomas. So including this partner, 8 people were, 5 of them were called Thomas, which is
probably
funny.
some football player in Czech Republic who was named Thomas or something like that.
Might
and
be,
like everyone started calling their kid Thomas.
Might be.
I also know about Thomas, right? Anyway, from Czech Republic, but yeah.
So the team consisted of like 3 engineers and 1 CEO. So no commercial, no business, no operation people. So I was helping out quite heavily. I was supporting the company, the founder, almost daily with some tasks, like doing some research, maybe prospecting, building lists of communities we might want to reach out, and so on and so on. And after a month of close cooperation, I think Thomas was the first one to ask, but I had this question in mind as well. He asked, "Hey, do you want to join full time?" And I said yes. So so that was the reason. But the root cause in a way was I was already thinking of switching to the other side of things, get back to building again, get some operational experience. This process I've described, finding a company, talking, investing, supporting, was already a little bit tiring. So I was looking for a more fresh perspective. But also, even the partners at Innova say, hey, if you want to be a good investor, good partner, you need to have some operational experience, right? You don't really want to be this guy who spent like 8 years in VC, his whole professional career as a VC, because he hasn't seen it, he or she, he hasn't seen it firsthand. He doesn't really know what it means. I'm not saying all of the partners, all of the people like that will be bad VCs, but even talking about what we've discussed earlier, so the differences between US investors and Polish investors, or the markets, like in the US, it's much more common that the investment team has operational experience. Usually, or quite often, it will be folks that have built their businesses, sold, and now.
Yeah, now it's also changing, right? It's kind of becoming a commoditized thing where people or like graduates would want to go into, or could go into investment banking or consulting first, and now the new hot thing is like, or it's been for a few years, so I want to be a VC analyst, right? And they kind of immediately want to go on that side because you're part of tech, but you don't really have that operational experience. And I mean, a lot of people are arguing that it's not really that important, I guess, because if you go on this meta level higher discussion of like, what's the value out of a VC, right? And people would say network, or like, oh, if they already seen it and they can really like give you the advice. But I think, at least in my limited experience, it's just like I can call them up, and it's like your additional brain where like there's someone like you who is smart, and I would just say, listen, I'm facing this issue. I don't have anyone on the team who could spend a week just researching this. How about you come back to me in a week and let me know how exactly I should build my, I don't know, engineering org or something like that. And it's kind of like a second brain, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so if you hire someone smart from like Yale or Stanford or whatnot, freshly graduated, it doesn't really matter if they have the 2 years or 5 years working at Uber. It would be cool, but not necessary, I guess.
No, for sure. And especially, I think it's of more value to have an operational experience if you are let's say Market One Capital in Poland is focused on marketplaces. So it would be good if someone, and that's true, part of their team, I think the partners, all of them worked in marketplaces or built their own marketplaces before. So then they know, inside out. But at the same time, if you are an analyst joining Market One Capital and you only focus on marketplaces, you probably still can build that expertise and that know-how just looking at hundreds and hundreds of companies like that. So it's true. Like, I'm not saying it's an essential and absolutely crucial part of the or if you specialize, again, like Chris from Innovo right now, he's focusing only on healthcare companies. So if he's gonna continue learning and exploring that space very, very deeply and very heavily, the fact that he doesn't have operational experience won't be an issue. He will have strengths on maybe different fronts, but yeah. So, but still, I thought it will be cool to join a startup and just see how it really is to build a high.
I have a better title, not an analyst anymore, but a head of ops.
I when I was leaving, I wasn't an analyst, but yeah, the title upgrade was there. Well, definitely wasn't the biggest driver.
Yeah,
the title itself wasn't the driver. The fact that I would become a head, so not initially, but eventually lead some teams was the driver.
So you did that for, like, I'm going to kind of speed things up here a little bit, but like you did that for almost 2 years. You helped them raise money, the team grew, and then you kind of, you took care of all the things you said as like a person in ops. So fundraising part, the business operations, I guess a little bit probably of like legal support, or trying to kind of cover that part of the company. 2 questions. Why did you leave? What was the impetus? And 2 is, was it, or maybe it's the same question, like, did you leave because you wanted just to build something, and that little voice in the back of your head was going like, yo, Kacper.
From Ahoy.
Yeah. Like, I got to build something, like, this is the time. Like, I don't feel like I'm actually at my max. What was the reason why you left?
As with previous questions, I think there's been many reasons and probably no leading one. As you've mentioned, we grew quite fast initially, but then the market collapsed and we didn't have a strong product market fit, so we needed to shrink the team. So we cut like 40% of the team, which is like quite a big layoff. And I, as a head of ops, didn't have that much to do anymore. Of course, I had maybe some things on the business operations side, maybe on revenue operations side, but as the team gets smaller and the revenues and the business isn't growing that fast as it used to, perhaps, I just had less responsibility and less and like smaller perspective, or like smaller perspective of us entering the high growth pace again, and like, because I was kind of helping out with scaling and growing the team, so also people operations side. So big part of my daily to-do list was naturally shrinked,
Condensed.
So it was all fun for like 2 weeks. They are a fully remote team, so for 1 or 2 weeks, it was fun not to have that much to do, taking some time off during the day, not going from task to task, and like, being like very, very productive and working hard. But after those, let's say 2-3 weeks, I was like, it's not so fun anymore. I need more challenge. I need more new learnings. And then in those initial like 1.5 years, I learned a lot. I've seen a lot, and as the more I stayed, the less I learned. So I decided to, that's again one of the reasons I decided to look for my next big thing, right?
Like, if we could transition to that, because I'm curious now that you started your, I guess, professional journey like out of university, building your own thing, and then you had a few years of being an investor and then being head of operations. What's your where's your head right now? Like, how are you getting into this? Do you have a plan? Like, what's the mindset? And how do you, because like you probably have some learnings, right?
Yeah.
And if you had to tell 23-year-old Kacper how to go about this, what would you say? Like, what's your advice, and how are you structuring this whole thought process?
That's a good question. How I would advise him or advise myself. I think I would say just follow your passion and follow your passion and follow your curiosity. And as long as you put your heart in it and just try to, again, learn as much as possible, see and observe, you'll be fine. Like, don't stress too much about, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Should I go to, I know, IB consulting, build my own business, join whatever company. Just do what you're passionate about, most probably, and things will be fine. Just
do you have that now? Like, because I assume also like you got some sort of like parachute in terms of like some savings in your under your mattress or something, right, or your bank account that you can now spend a few months to think what you want to do, or do you already know what you want to do, and now you're just kind of on the the process, how it works. You want to probably, I don't know if you want to be a venture-backed business or if you want to bootstrap your thing, but assuming the former, you also know like how things work here, and you probably have the access to capital.
Yep.
So what's like, what's the thing how do the next few months look for you?
Yeah. As you've pointed out, like the next, let's say 3 months, I want to use as time off, both for like hopefully full recharge of my batteries, but at the same time already exploring what's next. So it's a bit tricky because I want to do both. I want to relax, take some time off, and just do some digital detox, whatever. But at the same time, I'm already thinking what's next. So I can't do both. I try to focus on both now, but I realize it's not so effective and it doesn't work. So in April, I already planned some time off, going to Cyprus, going to Spain. I'm gonna go with my bicycle ride from Sevilla to Malaga through to national parks, just like, no laptop,
Sick.
cell phone, just with the navigation. So that's the part I'm looking forward to. But at the same time, I'm already meeting with people, building interesting stuff and just asking questions. So that's the big part. And that would be one of the advice. That would definitely be one advice, that don't be afraid to ask people for an advice, for a meeting, and just like meet as many, interesting or inspiring people as possible, and things will work out.
But are you trying to ask for advice in terms of like building your own thing, because you're dead set now? Okay, I'm ready. Actually, now I'm ready finally to be my own employer, my own boss.
Yeah.
Or now you kind of also gain some wisdom when you realized, oh shit, like maybe it's not that bad working for / with other people, and maybe also like you realize that you're at your best being the head of ops, or being kind of the wingman of someone, versus you being the front man kind of running the show.
Yeah, that's the battle I have internally right now. I think I'm considering three options right now. The first, and the order will be like not chronological, like not so it changes every now and then. Yeah. The first one would be launching my own business, and lately in the past 2 weeks, this is something more willing to do, and for various reasons we can talk about in a second. So starting my own business. The other question would be the one you've asked already: bootstrap versus VC. Again, can go deeper into that, but for now, that would be first option: build something on my own, or like on my own with some co-founder or co-founders, right? So the second option would be join an early stage company, so like below 20 employees, be a wingman, be head of ops, chief of staff, still hopefully learn some stuff, and join a company in the markets I'm interested in. So that would be digital health, especially mental health, fitness and wellness, well-being. These are like top 2, I would say. The others depends. Like I want to do something with an impact. So perhaps maybe climate tech. I know very little about it, but I think I could get up to speed, and this would be something I would enjoy doing just because of the impact. Same with mental health, right?
Got it.
But with mental health, I believe I have both some personal relevance, maybe passion you would call it, and the other piece, which is this positive impact, right? So joining the second.
Yeah.
So the second option would be joining an early stage company as the head of ops, again, ideally in the market that I'm interested in. So learn better, understand this market, and then maybe in 1-2 years do something. Go back to option one. The third option, which is
VC.
Not really. Maybe, if Sequoia would come today and say, "Hey, come on board," maybe I'd consider that. But no. Like the truth is, I still have this hunger for building something almost from scratch to something sizable and meaningful, something with impact. So VC is not the. I want to go back to VC probably in like 3, 4, 5 years. But the third option would be, and that's the least favorite of mine right now, at least, be join a later stage company, let's say 300, 500 people.
Yes, go corporate, man. Get that big paycheck.
Get
good at politics.
Yeah. I've never worked in a company bigger than 35 people, so yeah, I'm probably a little bit naive about how it looks like. But again, in the market, in the vertical I'm interested in, let's say mental health, I would join a 300, 400 people company with a nice paycheck. Something I would consider doing then is running a small angel syndicate, because I still have a decent deal flow. So perhaps I would, gather some friends, some folks like even yourself, and do small checks combined as an SPV, which would be a good fun experience, good potential return, but also broadening the network. So that would compensate for like all the politics and whatnot, having a hopefully or potentially nicer paycheck to then explore the angel side of things, and as before, perhaps go back to the step one in 2 years. So save more money, get some more experience, and then build something on my own.
Nice. I guess that would be for round two, if we're diving deeper into the three options, or we can check in a few months and kind of see where you went, because we got to wrap this stuff up, fortunately. My usual closing question is, what's the kind of, what would you say is the advice that I mentioned the part of like, what would you say to your younger self? But here, just like advice in general, like your thing that you live right now, or something like maybe you realize something about your life, or life in general, or business, that's kind of the theme, and that you'd like to spread the word about.
Definitely the first thing that comes to my mind is, I'm going to repeat myself, is like follow your passion, follow your curiosity. Because if you will follow just the money, the chances are much higher you will get bored, burned out, and all sorts of things. And especially, I've noticed that when I'm saying that, I've noticed that during my time at AhoyConnect, because I joined the company because I believed in that vision that community is going to be the next big thing, but it wasn't intrinsically or like internally passionate about the community market, right? I just wasn't into this market. I had the conviction, back then I had the conviction it's going to be a rapidly growing large market with huge potential. But after 1 year, after 1.5 years, let's say, it made me realize that it's not something I'm interested in. So naturally, I was less motivated to do stuff. I was less motivated to just go the extra mile, extra step. And if I would be doing something that I'm really into, I think I would have much higher chances of success, whatever success means.
Clear.
So I think that would be one. the other would be, I don't want to make it sound like, because networking sometimes may have like negative connotation attached to it, right?
Yeah.
You can imagine networking as in meeting some interesting people for lunch, like talking impactful ideas and deep questions, whatever. Or you can imagine a large conferences with
Just giving
thousands
out
of
business
people.
cards.
Exactly.
It's
And
like,
like sharing
connect
their,
with me on LinkedIn.
yeah, with very low value. So I believe like networking is like a leverage, because the more people you meet, it grows exponentially. The more ideas, the more next doors you can open, and so on. So right now I try to I don't want to set too many KPIs for my time off, because it's the time off to recharge, not to set KPIs. But one of my KPIs is to personally meet and talk to 100 people. So
Ooh.
yeah. And
Okay.
and I already talked with probably like, I don't know.
New people.
Yes. Yeah. I already talked with like 15.
That's why you're not calling me anymore. It's
probably.
like,
Was that?
that's why you're not calling me anymore. It's like,
No,
I need to meet new 100 people, fuck my old friends. Oh yeah, and I got it. Yeah.
In a way,
It is
yes,
important.
but
no, yeah, totally.
Of course, you see what I mean. So I already met, let's say, I think 15 or 17. I haven't updated like the list. I don't want to again go too formal about it. But I already met like 15 people, and this gives you so many fresh ideas, so many new perspectives, so many new things that you just realize were maybe possible, and so on. So
are they criteria for the people, like 20 have to be doing this, or 20 have to be like, or is it just 100 people that come through your network that you want to talk to, but there's no particular way that you think about them?
Yeah, there is probably some criteria, but I'm not too strict about it. Like one of the ways I try to go by that is just as, and then I was asking you for that. I will go to London like on like 22nd of March for a couple of days to meet some folks. And the way I would do it is I know some folks. So as I've asked you, hey, could you please connect me to one person or two folks that are, you believe are worth meeting. And I just send a blurb like about myself, like I'm an VC plus ops, I'm interested in this and that, I want to join or build an early stage company. And I say, hey, pass this to 5 people. If somebody just wants to grab a coffee, I'm happy to do that. So that's the way I go about it. So I'm not very selective. On Monday, I was at this event where we both went there. It's called Founder Wannabes. There's like 60 people thinking about their own business. So again, it's a good initial match. Totally. Talking to people who are willing to start their business. And I would just go through the list, maybe try to identify 10 people I want to talk the most based on what they're doing, what's their background, is it a potential match? But it's not that I'm, closed, and I don't want to speak with people that don't meet this and that.
When you say just, I guess the last question, because is it just like you actually talk to them, like you gotta have lunch or like a 1 hour conversation? That's where you often. It's not like I've met them, I had a 15-minute talk or conversation during this event, and that's already ticking the box. Or
I don't want to be too strict about it, too formal about it. So I said this again, kind of superficial KPI of 100 people. I will probably track that, but I don't want to be very religious about if it was like 14 minutes, 30 seconds, does it count or not? Assuming that 15 would be the mark. So I don't care that much. If from a subjective point of view, that was a meaningful conversation that I got something out of, I would count it. But again, not trying to overthink it.
Sick. All right, man. Oh, good luck. Enjoy your bike rides and your top 100 list. I mean, also, it'd be cool if you shared it at some point. Not publicly, but like, curious, who you've met, and yeah, we should do a round 2 at some point.
For sure. Very happy to, and thanks for having me. So
yeah, cheers.
Awesome.